Hello and welcome to the Scoutcast from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. And ahead of Gameweek 22, Christmas is well and truly over. It's time to consider the challenges ahead and also go shopping for some bargains. My name is Joe.
My name's Az.
And my name is Karam.
Welcome everyone as we look ahead to this Friday's start to the game week and beyond. Az, what is coming up on the show?
Well, if I remember to unmute my microphone, it's been a while since I've done these.
I know,
I'm all panicked. So we're going to look back over the festive mini-season and look ahead to Game Week 22 and beyond. There's a bumper player selection that takes in those now available at a discount and who have potential to do well over the coming period, particularly with new managers and things. Some of the forgotten men might enter our thinking. We're going to talk about the Liverpool and who we're going to be getting into the triple up for the impending double game week. We're going to talk about the usual features, differentials, clean sheets. I've got some roughs with the smooth for game week 21 and our transfers and team plans.
Okay, so what we're going to do, usually we look back on the previous game week, and we will of sorts, but it's come to the end of the festive mini-season. This is the game week 18 to 21 period. So before we look ahead to game week 22 and beyond, I just wanted to look at this festive mini-season and how we did in the last 4 game weeks over Christmas, because it is different. There are different issues. There's a lot more rotation. You've got to keep your eye on the ball when it comes to news and team news. And there's a lot more injuries as well. So many games, so many players going off injured. So it's a tale of the good, the bad, and the average. Az, you're the good. So you went from 487k to 145k. One red arrow in the last 10. You're sub 1 million ranking, a distant memory. And this is the bit that I told you about before we came on air. You got 256 points over Christmas, which is the same as the world number 1, Matthew Trohar. So basically, you're in FPL winning form at the moment.
Yeah.
So, Az,
never in doubt, Joe.
What's been going right over Christmas for you?
Well, you mentioned sub 1 million rank. I was sub 2 million rank in game week 11. So yeah, it's amazing what can happen in 10 game weeks. It's been a particularly good run. I think I had 6 red arrows in a row before this run as well. So yeah, it's been really good. I mean, what's gone right? Danny Ings. Spoiler, we might be talking about him a bit later, but my Abraham to Ings transfer that I made because I thought Abraham was going to be out for a few weeks, could never have expected the amount of points that Danny's got over this period. It's been fantastic. Grealish has been really good, just ticking over really nicely. I've been getting quite a few points from captains. You know, getting in Vardy's helped and sort of backing him most weeks when he was in great form. Players like Dele Alli, Sadio Mane. I've just not really been doing anything that crazy. Like, my team is relatively template, but I've got on players sort of quite early. And now people are getting them in, you know, players like Grealish and Ings I got in sort of before they were the must-haves. And everyone else has just been sort of ticking over quite nicely. So I can't say it's been anything too dramatic. It's just been a couple of players performing consistently most weeks. So but, it's been a lot more fun than 10 weeks ago. Music
to my ears, because often that's the way over Christmas. It is distinct. It's a time not really to take risks. It's a time to just consolidate. With me, I see Christmas as in FPL as something to get through, because you never know who's going to get benched. And Jamie Vardy, obviously, has scuppered many. It's fine if your vice captain does well, but like myself, in the last game week, my vice captain was De Bruyne and didn't. So yeah, it's clear why you've done well. Ings there is someone we're going to mention because he's annoying for those of us that don't own him. I said it's the good, the bad, and the average. I'm the average. So I went from 95k to 76k. So it's a Christmas of consolidation for me. Via 100k and via 34k. Oh, how I dreamed of staying there. Game week 18 to 21, I got 225 points. So I beat my 200 target, but I didn't get to those dizzy heights you did. For me, same. Just consolidating, really. Some of the points I missed out on, say, for example, Cantwell coming in with that rotation. My bench was, there, but they often got me 1 or 2 points. The likes of Dendonka, Target, Rico as well, -1 from him last game week. So it was there. I wouldn't say it was strong, but that's what a bench is meant to be. It's just meant to be kind of fill in. But I think the main thing for me, Cantwell, being without him, doing really well, great sub to have, lots of points coming off people's benches. And just that captaincy, with Jamie Vardy out, the vice captain, you've got to nail it. Sometimes it did, but on the likes of Salah or Rashford, sometimes not with the likes of De Bruyne. And then other times I missed the De Bruyne haul. Anyway, it just goes on. Anyway, the lesson they learned for the Christmas is get your vice captaincy right. Because if your captain doesn't play, game over. Consolidation. Karam unfortunately gets the tag of bad over Christmas. So not a great Christmas, but onwards and upwards. You went from 271k to 473k. And 3 out of 4 festive arrows were red. In game week 18 to 21, you got 197 points. So just shy of that 200 point threshold that I've arbitrarily given for classified as a bad Christmas. So, what's sort of gone wrong? And has it given you any hints of what to do in the future?
Yeah, I think largely the last game week 21, was the one who fixed the Christmas a little bit. Like it's nice to start the 2020 with a green arrow, but 3 red arrows during the Christmas time. I got like 2 game weeks within the 40s and 1 game week in the 50s. We're very, very poor. 3 things I've learned, or 3 reasons of why I had a bad Christmas. Number 1 is, I want to say I'm so sorry, Trent Alexander-Arnold, because a few Scoutcast ago we mentioned about selling the TAA for Aurier. I've gone with it, and everyone knows what happened.
Oh no, Karam.
Well, that's probably
big mistake.
If you had that's one move, because if with that move there you'd have got, say, 224, 225 points, and then therefore a good Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah, TA points made the difference from a good Christmas to a poor one. So that's number 1. Number 2, I went to triple up on Spurs, who had a bad Christmas as well. Over the last 4 day weeks, I've got 2 assets with minus points. So Son with a red card and Aurier with an own goal. And the number 3 is just what you mentioned, Joe. I did not get the captaincy right. So game week 18, I got 7 points from Jimenez, captaincy, a late goal. So against Norwich. So that's the only captain return I got. So last game week was KDB vice captain, wrong. Salah against I thought a tired Wolves, he blanked. So that's another one. And I captained Abraham in game week 19. I think what was the picture? It was a captain options. Southampton, exactly. So he blanked. 197 points. Yeah, it's not a good one, but I think I fixed a lot of my problems. So I've got Salah and TA now. I'm still holding the Raheem Sterling. I have no idea why, but
because you love him.
He's not going before Villa. He's a good option for next year.
Yeah.
But now I'm still on. Yeah, I'm back on the track to 2020, to the next 2 game weeks, and then the double game weeks.
Yeah.
So positives there. So
I think you're looking at your team. It's in good shape, and that is not a bad team. That's a good team, in fact, and especially with Sterling. I was talking on the just a plug for the Meet the Manager series we have. I interviewed Pranel, who's known as Late Riser 12 to many in the community, and one of the things he was talking about was making those sort of differential calls for the captaincy on your premium options, and basically going hard and fast on getting different premiums in. And I think Sterling currently is an example of that. So I think he's quite a good player to have. And Manchester City have got a good fixture coming up in game week 22. I think it's good.
Have you got Mane as well, Karam?
What's that, Az?
Have you got Mane as well?
Not yet. I have Salah and TAS. So the plan is to move Sterling to Mane, but
love
around the double game week. It's just I need to find 0.5 somewhere. Tomorrow you can go to anyone.
That's easy.
love that.
I'm a planned.
Okay, well this is good. We're going to come to how we're sorted for Liverpool in it shortly, but it sounds like already you're in very good shape there. We do have before we talk about the teams and the players, we have a specific player to talk about. But even before that, as you told me, you've got some rough with the smooths for us.
I did.
Yes, fire away.
Yeah, so I mean, GW21 feels like ages ago, but it was only just over a week ago, wasn't it? Or was it exactly a week ago? Oh, it was exactly a week ago. I don't
know. It's Christmas. Every day is a Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know what day. I still don't really know what day it is, to be honest. Okay, so I've got a few here just to cast your mind back. So we'll start with some of the roughs. So one problem was people decided they had enough of Grealish. So actually quite a few people sold him. So Starty with a 4 instead of an A. Very good. He sold Grealish for Traore, and I was debating who to start for ages out of Grealish and Traore, and it was driving me mad. And in the end, I started Grealish, and Traore came anyway, so it made no difference whatsoever. But he went one step further, sold Grealish for Traore. Oh dear. Then had Kane captain, who didn't play, so his vice was somehow Traore. So not only did he sell Grealish, he also messed up his vice captain and got points from Traore. But it wasn't all bad, because he's one of the only people in the world who's held on to Connor Wickham all this time.
Oh wow!
I'm beginning to with Connor Wickham. I'm beginning to think, hang on a minute, do I know Connor Wickham? Is he? And then I think, oh yeah, he's that player in FPL.
What is his price?
Was he 4.3 now? I started the season with him. Yeah, fantastic though. His third sub and comes off the bench, and in his only appearance of the season, pretty much on scores. Amazing. Fantastic. Mince and Tatties, great name. He also sold Grealish, and sold him for Antonio. And Antonio, really good player for West Ham. Everyone's talking about him at the moment. He didn't play. He wasn't even in the squad. They won 4-0 without him. It's got to hurt, isn't it?
That's double game week planning, but possibly too early.
Well, he was right. I mean, West Ham slaughtered Bournemouth. He was trying to get in early on that, and just unlucky with that. Two more. Don Blaster. I like these ones. Well, I mean, not for me, but for other people. 22 points overall, which means that pretty much every single one of his players blanked. And he got 2 points for all of them, which hurts a lot. I mean, I remember Luke maybe not recently, but Luke at one point got less than 22 points. So actually, his players managed to get less than if they'd all just played and not got booked. Excellent. And the last rough, Rosenthal Rover. This is a bad one. He sold Maddison, and he sold Ings.
Oh, what?
No. And he bought in Jamie Vardy, finally, who didn't play, and Adama Traore, who blanked.
Oh, that's rough.
Before we came on air, myself and Karam were talking about Ings, and I mentioned Maddison as well. And I said, whenever I look on live FPL website, and without knowing what's happening in the games, if I've dropped 30,000 places, I know that Maddison or Ings have scored. If I drop 60,000, I know both of them have.
Yeah. Cool. And just a couple of smooths. I mean, I'm not going to mention everyone that was jammy and got Grealish off the bench and Cantwell off the bench. Then a few, Karen 14, BNMC, Hurricane, really jammy, lots of jam there. I like Shawnee James, got 92 points, and every single one of his players delivered some kind of return, which I'd say is pretty rare.
Amazing.
Which is good. And just the last one, congrats to Sweeper Keeper, who has now overtaken Magnus Carlsen in the overall rankings. Job.
Ooh. Well, okay, there we go. Right, let's move on to a player then, because we mentioned his name. Let's put his picture up. I hate him, but let's put his picture up anyway. It's Danny Ings. Now, just before, we're not going to talk about other players a bit later, but I'm going to put him in here. Now, Az, go on, tell us about Danny Ings. Myself and Karam don't have him, by the way, you do. So tell us why.
I'm very aware of that fact, and I don't think you should have left this to me, because I have got a big smile on my face, whereas you two look a little bit green around the gills looking at a picture of Danny Ings. I mean, what a player! I mean, everyone talks about Lord John Lundstrom. I don't think he's a patch on what Danny Ings has done for my season this year. And what's amazing about Ings is last year he pretty much single-handedly ruined my season because I bought him in around Christmas time. He blanked in every week. He missed one-on-ones and he got injured, and I couldn't sell him because he was too cheap. So yeah, he's made my season this year and ruined it last year. But we're going to look at bargain players that have taken a bit of a price drop. But I mean, this is a guy who is not dropping in price. He is shooting up in value. I like what you put it, Joe. Is he breaking the game with his fixture-defying scoring run? Will he ever return to type and get injured? And this is one of the main reasons why I think people are avoiding buying him. Because they're just convinced that he's going to get an injury. So you both haven't got him. We've had some questions about him. Chris Smith is I think is just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Why am I still looking for reasons not to bring in Ings? So I'm not going to say anything for now. Are you? I take it neither of you are thinking about Ings, right?
No. And that's why it's quite a funny topic, isn't it? Because it's like he's doing really well. He's scoring every week. He's arguably captainable. He's scoring against all sorts, all comers. And yet the answer to that is no, I'm not going to get him in. And I've got no idea why either. But actually, I've got some idea. But I'll let Karam go first. Karam, your Ings list. What are your Ings plans?
Probably will not get him. I feel I missed the whole train. So this Ings, every time I see Southampton score the goal, like pops up a notification on my phone. I know that Danny Ings scored.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable what he's doing now. Now he scored 13 goals in a half a season. That's more than what he scored in 4 seasons combined. Unbelievable. I think I reassessed and I realized that there are 2 things probably justify why I didn't get him. First one, I lived with his past. So I believe that he's injury prone. Poor Southampton, it's an injury waiting to happen. He will not keep it up and he keeps scoring. Number 2, which is I think it's more critical to me, is that there are too many strikers I had and I was reluctant to sell any of them to get Danny Ings. So what I did quickly is I did a reassessment from game week 12 when Danny Ings started to explode at that time. So basically my front line was Vardy, Abraham, and Jimenez. Now Vardy is a given. We'll not talk about him. I did a comparison from game week 12 to game week 15. Danny Ings scored 31 points, Jimenez 29, Abraham 22 points, plus 1 missing game in which Cantwell came off the bench with 8 points. So until that time, my forwards were capable, were matching Danny Ings. So I did not have the necessity to make the swap. Now, in hindsight, probably I should have done the swap in game week 16 because Danny Ings scored 33 points since then. Jimenez 29, again, very, very consistent. Abraham 15 points. So kudos to everyone who have done the swap around the time when Abraham got injured and came back. He blanked 5 times in a row. Did you do that, Az?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here you go. That's the point where I should have done the swap. So I'm 18 points down from Danny Ings. So it's not the end of the world, but probably I should have not kept the faith with Abraham. And the reason I kept faith in him because he played Everton, who sacked their manager. So they were really poor at that time. They had 2 home games against Bournemouth and Southampton in which they should have scored. The whole Chelsea did not score. And then Spurs, we know that they have poor defense. So we fancied Abraham to score against them. They scored 2 goals, but both from Williams. So in a way, I kept faith in Abraham, but at the same time, it was really painful to watch 9 points from Danny Ings. Every goal is equal to 7 points because no other one in Southampton does anything. So basically, he takes all the bonus. He's a bonus magnet. So I think with the fixtures coming up, Leicester, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, and Burnley, I don't really think that I'm going to go and get Danny Ings around these fixtures. The fixtures afterwards gets much better. Whether the bigger question will be, will he ever stop scoring? That's something remains to be seen. But I moved Abraham a couple of game weeks ago after his goal against Arsenal, and I went for Mbappe because I needed that bracket to fund the Liverpool assets in which we'll talk about in the next section. So even when I moved Abraham, I didn't go to Ings because of other plans. So that's why I didn't go for him. How about you, Joe?
I didn't. I mean, similar reason. There's just too many good strikers. And yes, in hindsight, obviously, the key move was get rid of Abraham and get Ings in.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the points coming in. But I have been enjoying the points coming in, but just not quite to the same level as Ings. So I just had a look while you were talking there. Just quickly glanced at when I actually did get rid of Abraham. I got rid of Abraham for Kane, and it was a move I made with Kane. And then via a couple of other players, I then got Rashford in. And since I've got Rashford in, I think it was game week 16 or so, I've had a 9 points, a 9 points, and a 6 points, which I don't think is that bad for that type of player. Obviously, Ings is getting pretty much 9 points every week, but maybe a couple of blanks I've been getting in there, so missed out on a couple of blanks. So that's not an FPL defining move there. I'm getting a player in there that's doing well. I also have had Jimenez, so it has enabled me to get Jimenez and keep Jimenez, and Jimenez has been really consistent as well. And I've got Vardy, and so for example, this weekend I've got Rashford, Vardy, and Jimenez all with great home games. They're all arguably captainable. There's no room for Ings. I don't have 4 striker slots, so that's why I laugh. I'm not going to get Danny Ings, arguably the best value asset in the game, because there's just no room at the inn. But I did have a look at recent form as well. So I'm not looking at fixtures here because Ings can score against anyone. Although he didn't score in Leicester, but that was special. He didn't score against Leicester first off, but that was a special case because Southampton were basically, I don't know what happened there, but they completely imploded and Leicester took advantage of them last time. So they've got Leicester up next, so it's hard to judge there. But I was looking at the range of strikers. It's not just the ones I've got. So I've got Rashford, Vardy and Jimenez. But looking down at strikers, last 4 game weeks, and looking at the sort of stats we're looking here. So Calvert-Lewin, for example, 12 goal attempts, 11 inside the box. Ings, 11 goal attempts, 11 inside the box. So Calvert-Lewin's, arguably his underlying stats are as good, if not better. And then you've got Troy Deeney. We're going to mention Watford a bit later. Troy Deeney, 11 goal attempts and 9 inside the box, and doing well as well with actual points. Jimenez, I've mentioned there, Rashford, and Aubameyang, if you've got more money to spend, is also doing well. So it's just an example of, and I haven't even mentioned Jamie Vardy in amongst there. So that's just an example of what we've got. This is what us non-Ings owners. So if you haven't got Ings in earlier, like you did, Az, there's no hope for Ings. There's just too much choice. I've got too many other things to do.
I mean, it sounds to me like you two are trying to justify something which you shouldn't be justifying, because Southampton are pretty much the most informed team. I think they had the best run over Christmas, other than Liverpool, in terms of points that they got. They beat Chelsea and Spurs both over that time. You've got a player who's less than 7 million. He's the complete focal point. They've learned how to play to his strengths. I think if you've got someone like Jimenez, the fixtures are turning really nasty soon, and he's in in kind of the same price bracket now. I think it's very easy to justify not getting him based on the fact that you haven't got him already. But I think you could do a lot worse than getting rid of some of your stubbornness and bringing him in. He's one of those players where, and whenever there's a goal, and I had this with Lundstrom early in the season, whenever there's a goal and straight away that it's going to be a certain player, they're the players who I like to target, because Southampton score is going to be Ings. He is so crucial now to everything they're hoping to do this season. And I honestly think he is the best striker you can have in the game at the moment.
I will break him if I get Danny Ings. I'll let everyone enjoy the points here.
It
makes total sense.
I think he is. In an ideal world, I would get him in for Rashford after this week, because, and we're going to come to this in a minute, I think all of us have various plans for Liverpool, and I have a particular plan for Liverpool, and that does not involve getting Danny Ings in, but it does involve getting a few other strikers who are in the mix for there. But this price, so obviously if price wasn't an option, I'll get Danny Ings in, of course. And it's interesting what you say there, as about Jimenez, about those fixtures changing. That's a situation to monitor. One plan I did have before Grealish decided and Villa decided they were quite good in the last game week was to switch Grealish to Traore and then get rid of Jimenez, because I don't like the use of coverage. But sometimes you can get coverage. For example, last season with Fraser and Wilson, they were assisting or scoring. for each other. They were helping each other out. And the same has been happening this season a lot with Jimenez and Traore. So you can actually cover Jimenez with Traore. But once again, it doesn't.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, I think you can because they are assisting each other, so you can get those points. In fact, you probably arguably might better get more at Traore because he gets more points for scoring, and he's just. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a professional footballer, but if I saw Traore running towards me, I would run away. Because he's basically a rugby league player who's somehow in football. I don't know how, and he's just really scary and fast.
Traore is a very strange player when you look at his points, though. I mean, he's had 3 double-digit returns all season, 2 against City, 1 against Spurs. He's had then a couple of 5-pointers, and then the rest are blanks. Yeah. Like, I'm seeing quite a few teams with him as like a fourth mid. And I just kind of feel like he's not consistent enough to be a fourth mid. I know he's cheap, but I mean, you look at someone like Jimenez, like he just seems to return every week. Like Traore's never going to match that. He's such a weird player because he's not even like streaky. He's just like he'll just occasionally turn up and just put in an absolute blinder performance. You think, well, he's completely unplayable. Like he's literally the best player I've ever seen. I've got to get him in, and then you bring him in and he blanks for 3 weeks in a row. He's a very stressful player to own. I'd say he's very different to Jimenez because Jimenez you can kind of rely on.
There's a consistency there, but as you said, with the fixtures, I don't mind the odd bad fixture, but if they get really really bad, and then if you've got a player like Danny Ings waiting in the wings, then you suddenly do have that choice to make. But for me at the moment, I'm very happy with having Jimenez, and let's see. And there's just no room for Ings, so sadly no. But everyone else who has him, like you, well done. I'm not in any way bitter.
I like him because he's a proper striker. Like there's too many strikers in the league now who drop deep and like to connect play. So Kane plays as like a centre mid. Yeah. You've got someone like Firmino who's not really an option. Yeah. You've got even Abraham. Like the amount of times Abraham comes back and chests the ball down and brings other players into play. Like they're crucial for the team. Yeah. But FPL wise, they're not as good. Ings, he's just all about scoring. Yeah. That's what I love so much about owning him because they're trying to get the direct. They're trying to get the ball to him as often as possible. He's making great runs inside. He's a talented player. He's not the best striker in the league, but he's a talented player, and the whole team is built around getting him to score.
It's no coincidence that he capitalises on all those errors, and that's where he's getting a lot of his goals is defensive errors. But he's so quick. I think it was against Liverpool. It was a back pass or something like that, and he just went, "Well, I'll have that." Yeah, he just steamed in there, but not a lot, as you said, not a lot of. Strikers are what you call that kind of good old fashioned.
Well, it's like Vardy. It's why Vardy's been so effective over all the years that he's been in the league because that is his job. They counter, they get the ball to him quickly, like that. And it's like Danny Ings is like Vardy light. Yeah, he's a fun player to own.
He is. Let's move on. Sorry, what was that?
Just a quick note on Traore. I think he stepped up his game this season. He became a bit creative as well. Yeah. If you look at the over the last 4 game weeks, the number of big chances created, only 4 players created more than Traore. Wendia, Perez, De Bruyne, and Mahrez. He's also created some chances with 9 as well. So he is doing okay for his price. Well, another player I like from Wolves, he could be a really good option, is Moutinho. He's a little bit cheaper at 5.4, but he's very creative as well. So Moutinho is even better than Traore for chances created with 11. Only 4 players created more. He has as many as KDB. So if you are not fully convinced with Traore, Moutinho could be another option. Still, we are talking about a cover for Wood, but I still think that Jimenez is the number 1 pick. He's a complete player. The only problem with him is he's yet to get a brace in the Premier League. Yeah. He's always the 5, 7, 8 points player, but consistently. So
I'll take that. I mean, I always think if your players' points are on average matching their price, you've got a winner there. So if he's getting 7 or 8 points a match, I'm quite happy with that. I'm just looking, Traore's got 4 goals and 4 assists this season. So he is what you were saying there about that creativity. He is mixing it up a bit. He is creating goals. He is scoring them as well. Obviously 4 and 4 is not huge scores there, but worth noting. Let's move on to the next subject, which is something we're probably going to discuss pretty much every week now, which is Liverpool. And what we're going to do ahead of this double game week for 24 and how many and which Liverpool players are we going to get, assuming we're all going to try and get 3, but which ones, it's a big decisions to be made. So yeah, Karam, what's been going on about Liverpool then?
Right. So as we probably all of us know that Liverpool and West Ham have a double game week in game week 24. Both games are away to Wolves and West Ham. So now we are building up to game week 24, and with game week 24 in mind. So we look for maximizing our options. The bigger question remains whether we prefer the double attack from Liverpool or the double defense. And it's something that's become very popular talk over the community. And here we picked up some questions from them. So KTK Interest is asking, which 3 Liverpool assets are we currently looking to bring in, double attack or double defense? And is Salah's away form, which is 1 goal and 3 assists, thanks for the stat, is it a worry for those bringing him in? The Trend Driver is asking as well, are you using the triple captainship for the Liverpool asset in their double game week? If so, who? And is a TAA a triple captain option in this game week and worth considering? So let's start with you, Az. What is your strategy with Liverpool picks? Is it a double defense, double attack? And are you planning to use a triple captainship?
Well, there's a great article on Fantasy Football Scout today, written by who wrote? Oh, it was me about this very subject. So I'm gonna, anyone who wants a real insight into my plans can look at that. Little plug there for the article. Essentially, to boil it down for anyone that's read it, I won't go on about it too much. But essentially, for me, it comes down to the fact that I don't have an easy way of getting Salah. I've got Mane, I've got Trent. And for someone like you, Karam, who's got Sterling, or for people who have got Kane or this kind of thing, it's quite an easy way to bring the second Liverpool mid in. For me, I don't want to drop a lot of the players I've got. I don't want to drop, Martial. I don't want to drop Grealish. I don't want to drop De Bruyne. I don't want to drop Ings. I'm quite happy with my team. So the thought of doing loads of surgery to bring Salah in makes me feel a bit uneasy. So that kind of limits me quite a bit in terms of what I can do. I can either get double up on defence, bring in Robertson alongside Trent, or I can take a bit of a punt on someone like Firmino. But Firmino, 10 blanks in 13 starts, I think. I mean, he's the striker for the best team in the league by a country mile. And his stats are good from what I've seen. They're not awful. I think he's posting some of the best stats he's ever had in a Liverpool shirt. Just can't convert. So it's do you take the risk and think, well, in that double game week he might just suddenly explode and get a load of double-digit points, or do you think, well, is that kind of that kind of thing going to continue? At the moment, I'm leaning towards a double defence. I think Robertson and Trent offer so much attacking wise. Liverpool have got 5 clean sheets in a row, and they made Leicester look really ordinary, and Leicester are at the moment the second best team in the league. West Ham, I can't see doing that much against them. So, in those games, I fancy at least 1 clean sheet out of those. It's just how much damage can Salah do. But you can't captain both Salah and Mane, and I'd captain Mane anyway. So is it really that important for me to get Salah when I think Robertson can get a decent score, and I won't be captaining the player that I'd have to completely destroy my team to get in anyway. So that's my thinking at the moment. Robertson and Trent for me, and Mane.
Quite logical looking at the structure of your team as well. Joe, how is your team shaping up with the double game week in mind? What are you looking for?
Okay, I've got some news. There's going to be some really big news here. So I've been reading lots of things on Twitter and on Fantasy Football Scout, and not your article as, but in terms of comments from people. And people are getting really stressed about it. Okay, the big news. FPL's a game. And it's not one of these, for God's sake, lighten up everyone. But lighten up everyone. You're competing against people. It is a game. It's there for fun and enjoyment. It is a game. So it makes sense to me to keep it simple because it is a game. Go for the 3 players that have and look like they have the highest ceiling. That's what I'm going for here. That is TAA, assists and clean sheets. That is Salah, penalties at the moment and possibly going into game week 24, and goals. And that is Mane, who looks just great, home and away, goals and assists. So for the flair players out there wanting to shun Salah, go for Firmino instead if you think you're going to catch his one in every 10-game haul. Robertson and TAA is another, I think, a flair pick to go for double defence. But it means going without one of Mane on Salah, and they're going to be hugely owned, they're going to be hugely captained, they're going to be hugely triple captained as well. So you're playing a game. So for example, Robertson is he going to get 2 clean sheets, maybe 1? I don't know. I mean, he could get anything. The likelihood is he's probably going to get around 10 points over those 2 matches, I think. If he gets maybe an assist, maybe he gets a clean sheet, might go up to a bit, maybe 12. But then if Salah scores a penalty in each of those games and gets bonus for it, and he's triple captained by people, and you haven't even got him, you haven't even mitigated against this 60-point haul with a 20-point haul, then it's a game. As I keep saying, it's a game. You're competing against those sorts of people.
60-point haul. I mean, dream on.
If he gets what? You don't think Salah could get 10 points a match in 2 matches and then triple captained? That's very doable for Salah. But we've had 50-60-point hauls before from triple captains back in the days. Remember them?
That's a 20-point.
We've had a 60-point haul from Wayne Rooney in a non-triple captaincy days in a double game week. And it can be done.
But what are the odds of Salah getting 2 10-point returns and Mane getting blanking in both? Like I think you posted something earlier, which was the amount of people who own Salah and Mane is currently about 3% or something.
It's really
so that rises to 10% as long as you've got one of them.
But if you have both, that could be good. Especially Robertson's not going to be triple captained, and so that's what it is. You're getting those triple captaincies. So.
I don't have the triple captain, Joe. All right.
Oh, okay. So for those
I'm speaking for everyone who's wasted their triple captain chip earlier in the season.
So okay, for those that still have the triple captaincy chip, put it on one of Salah and Mane for this week, because they're going to win the league by March, and you ain't going to be triple captain again. So basically,
I think the best thing about this is someone like me might think to myself, oh, well, the one risk is that they might not play both games, because typically in a double game week, the games are close together. He might rest one of them. It's like a week apart, the 2 games. Like, they're definitely going to play both games.
Yeah, of course they are.
Both of them.
Brilliant. I love it. And that's why
it's a great double game week.
It's a great double game week for that as well. FPL Chuck Norris on Twitter, I said I would give him a shout out because he summed it up for me. He said he was looking, he's looking at the triple up, and in the end, he's decided he likes watching Liverpool play, well, because he's a football fan, and it would enhance his enjoyment of watching football to have both Salah and Mane rather than 2 defenders. There we go. So he's just laid it out there. It is a game. It's about fun enjoyment, and I do not want to be going into a glorious double game week without Salah and Mane. I don't know which.
Tell that to David when Salah went off for Milner and then Milner got a penalty seconds after.
Well, that won't happen now because Milner's injured. And who's next on penalties? Salah. So here's some stats as well. So I've got some stats. Let's put them up on the screen. There we go. So I've looked at away matches. So away from home this season, looking at who could be the best options. This is because in Game Week 24, it's Wolves and West Ham away. So Mane is performing well against his expected goals scored. He scored 4, and he should have scored about 4. So he's doing very well there. A shot in the box every 40 minutes, that's okay. But Salah arguably has been underperforming, and according to my eye test and the eye test of many others, he's actually looking quite good at the moment. He's looking much better than he did at the beginning of the season. So 1 goal away, but he should have scored around 3, and it's a shot in the box every 30 minutes, and a shot on target is roughly the same. So the accuracy and the positioning of those shots is on a par with Mane. He's looking a bit. I don't know which one I'm going to. So I'd like to have that choice, really. Some people go, I don't know who to choose. I don't pick Mane or Salah for the captaincy. Well, I like to have that choice. Well, which of these 2 good players do I pick? I much prefer that than, oh my God, I might as well pick Rashford because I haven't got anyone else or something. In terms of creativity, Mane is the more creative away from home. So if you're looking about bums on seats, points on the board, Mane might have the edge there. Alexander-Arnold is the most creative. He's the flair triple captaincy there. 21 chances created, We know what he can do in terms of points. Firmino 6 goals away from home, but massively overperforming. So he should have scored about 3 or 4 really. And Robertson pretty good. Goal unlikely. You might catch his odd goal. Chances not great. He started more away games than Salah, Mane and Alexander-Arnold, and he's still not really competing with them on those types of stats. So basically, Robertson is second best. He's in that group of second best. But I think it's TA. Anyway, that's a really long way of saying I'm going to get Mane in, Salah, and TAA.
Well, you've already got them. You've already got them both, haven't you?
No, I haven't. No, I've got Salah and TAA. I've got Ali and I've got Rashford, who are part of a plan in Game 23 to make way for Mane and a striker. I don't know which one, but it won't be Danny Ings. It'll be someone a bit cheaper. But it won't be down to Greenwood level. And I've also made plans already this game week for that move by giving myself an extra £500,000 to cover myself for price rises and price falls. But I'll reveal that later. I've teased already with Az that it's the most boring transfer I think I've ever made. And I'm really boring over 12 years of boredom. So anyway, that's me. I've just left you speechless.
Good.
So, no, good. So from my side, Joe, you mentioned everything about stats, so I will not add anything to it. I'll just mention it from my feeling, my strategical point of view. Now, if the games are home, I'll be more encouraged to go double defense. Now, because both games are away and both teams are good. They have good attack. Wolves are good. West Ham, they can be losing 4, 5, 6, but they can score. They can nick that goal. So from a ceiling perspective, I feel that the goals from Salah and Mane are more likely, or it has more upside than Robertson to keep a clean sheet and get an assist. Now, how likely is that? It's not very accurate, but it's based on probabilities. I was very certain to go with Salah, Mane, and TA, and I'm built on that. But the recent stats of Salah away is not encouraging. But it feels like, okay, I'm in it. I'm invested. So I'm not gonna change that. I'm not gonna go to Firmino, who did not score in Anfield since March 2019, but he has 6 goals away this season from 9 appearances. So he operates once every 2 weeks. In the away he operates, at home he shuts down. So he could be a nice pick and at 9.3. But again, we have too many strikers, many good strikers, so it's hard to fit him in. And so from my side, I feel like you said, Joe, there are many will be owning Salah or Mane or both, and many of us will be captaining one way or another. So whatever happens, if I did the wrong captain, for example, so at least I have a chance to get 50% or 33% if people are triple captaining him of the points from the another asset. So I'm here minimizing the damage. If I pick the right one, then the other one will be a plus to my points. I totally understand the talk in the community about the value, but for me, I'm targeting this specific game week, and on that particular game week, I feel that the attack have a higher ceiling than the defense. Long term, I fully tend to go double defense afterwards because it allows me to go to many meta players like Madison, Son, Mahrez, all these players. I will not be able to afford them or test them or experiment them if I have a double Liverpool mids plus KDB, because that's a lot of budget. So for a short term, at the double game week level, I feel I'm going, or pretty much I'm going, because my team is already set up, coincidentally, with a Sterling, an easy move to Mane. Then I'll be going Salah, Mane, and TA. The triple captain, to be honest, I'm still not considering to use it because I feel that Jamie Vardy might have a better opportunity if they qualify. What we know by end of the month, if they qualify to the Carabao Cup final, then the Leicester versus Norwich game might be postponed and we might get a double game week for Jamie Vardy. So it could be another possibility. So I'm not decided. If I'm gonna use it, probably I'll be trusting Mane more than Salah based on the away form of both assets. But for now, I'm still reluctant to use the triple captainship because I feel there is another opportunity later on. But I need to reassess, follow Bennett Krillin with all the tables and the agenda of the double and the blind game weeks, and then make a decision. We have time until game week 24, so I'll make up my mind by that time. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful of the triple captaincy now because there's so many triple captaincy failures, haven't there been over the last 3 or 4 years? Really annoying.
It sure has.
Yeah.
Just one final thing on that. Just what you ideally want for a double game week like this, I find though, is when you are considering spending a quarter of your budget on 2 players, is you want to feel at least that the players you're getting rid of have got quite tough games in that week. This is a bad week to be selling a lot of players. Like you talk about Rashford, Joe, and players like Martial. You don't have got Burnley at home that week. Don't really want to be selling them against that. Spurs have got Norwich at home.
Yeah, but luckily Rashford's got Liverpool away beforehand, so you can sell Rashford game week 23, and then if he scores game week 24, it doesn't matter anymore.
Leicester, West Ham at home. Vardy, Maddison, these are players you don't want to sell. You've got Sheffield United. They put them to the sword a couple of weeks ago. So I think a lot of people are going to be thinking, De Bruyne to Salah or Mane might be quite an easy move. I'm not doing that for game week 24.
Well, I tell you what,
I just think.
Do you know what I like? I've always think with double game weeks is to think long term as well. Do I want this player anyway? Do I want them for a big block of fixtures? And then looking at the fixtures, I mean, everyone can do it. Just click on Mane or Mo Salah, have a look at the fixtures that are coming up. Game week 24, we know who they've got, Wolves and West Ham away. Game week 25, Southampton at home. And then they've got Norwich away, West Ham again, Watford away, and then Bournemouth at home. And that comes up to game week 30 where you've got the derby, the Merseyside derby against Everton. So, for that big run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you've got 6 amazing fixtures and I want Salah and Mane for both of them, to be honest.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but it could be a lot of points. A lot of points.
I think for the double game week, I would not take care. I wouldn't care much about the money. But afterwards, I have a plans to, for example, reshuffle things. Maybe early wildcard in 25 or 2 free transfers. Just shuffle things around and get more sustainable team. Let's put it this way with the double defense of Liverpool. That's kind of what I think of at the minute. So.
Okay, well, in order to get all these Liverpool players, whether we're going double defense or double attack, we've got to save money. You've got to find money elsewhere. It's something I'm going through at the moment, sort of trying to save a bit of money, put it in the bank, and hope I can get the Liverpool players that I want. So that brings us nicely to our talking point, which is on January sales players. And these are the price drop gems. These are the players that have dropped in price, but have actually got the propensity to do well. There's a whole bunch of them. So we're going to put some of the players up there. We're going to mention, there's a few key teams as well we're going to mention, because there's a whole bunch of players there that have dropped in price. So we're looking at those. I think they're going to be, as I said, very handy as well. And to get the discussion going, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some of the key teams and get both of your views about some of their players. And also, towards the end, you can add any other players that you think we haven't mentioned that have dropped in price. They are cheaper than their starting price way back in August. We had some loads of community questions. I'm not going to list out the community questions. We've had loads of community questions on these types of players. So I'm going to go for, first one is Everton. Okay. So I'm going to reel off some names, some prices, and then I'll get your views about whether they're good value.
Some of these players on this list, Joe, scraping the barrel.
Tom Davies, invest in Tom Davies.
So this is Everton. So this is scraping barrel, but also that's quite a nice barrel to scrape. So let's go. Calvert-Lewin was 6 million, now 5.9. Actually looking good. Looking a bargain at 5.9. Sidibe looking an absolute bargain at 5.4. He was 5.5. Pickford, Mina and Davis were 5.5. They're now 5.3. So we are getting to barrel scraping time. Walcott who sometimes is looking good recently, but then he didn't look very good during the week in the FA Cup. Walcott was 6.5, now 6.2. Luca Dean. Now, hang on a minute. Luca Dean, that's one of your guys, isn't he, Az? There we go.
He is indeed.
Luca Dean, he was 6 million, and you have snapped him up at a cut price discount of 5.7 or 5.6 perhaps. And Sigurdsson, for those who really like a stroll down memory lane, Sigurdsson is actually only 7.3, and he was 8 million, if you can believe that, back in August. So there's a few names there. So there's Everton. Let's go to you, Az, first, because you've already gone in. You've got waded into the toffees with Luca Dean. So have they got the ability to do well, even though they're priced less?
Well, I mean, I decided to make a move on an Everton defender when Ancelotti took over, because I thought Everton I mean, it's obvious they're underperforming. They've got a really strong side. I think getting Carlo Ancelotti is an amazing coup for them. He's one of the best managers in the world, and yeah, I was really impressed that they managed to sort of get him over to Merseyside. So I thought, well, I think the first thing he's going to want to do is tighten up the defence. So I had to look at the defence, and the player who I've always thought is the jewel in the crown for that team is Dean. And I tell you, it was the fact that he'd come down 0.3 since the start of the season that swayed me in the end, because I thought he is a 6 million defender. I think that was a fair price for him at the start. Taking set plays like a winger, so far up the pitch, and Everton's fixtures turned quite nice now, and he seemed like a really good pick. But I moved too early because then Sidibe played in a wing position, on the wing.
So would you prefer him now?
Yeah, so I thought, maybe I've missed a trick there, because I mean he was 5.3 at the time. It's gone up to 5.4 now. I think in his first game on the wing he got an assist, and he looks really good. Looking at the heat map between them, though, even though he's sort of being played out of, well, looks like he's being played out of position, Dean plays so far up the pitch anyway that they're actually quite equal in terms of the positions they occupy on the pitch, and stats wise they're quite similar as well, but he's cheaper. So I think as Sidibe's price goes up, and they become sort of around the same price, then I think you've got a decision to make. But at the moment, I think Sidibe is the better pick to go for. I also really like Calvert-Lewin. I think for 5.9, he's pretty much the best. Well, I think he is the best, budget option there is, other than someone like Ings, if you've got him already. A lot of people are debating him and Mopé for Brighton, and I really like Mopé as a player. I think for Brighton he's absolutely fantastic, but I don't think he has the same ability to get as big hauls as someone like Calvert-Lewin does. So Mopé plays well. He sometimes plays on the wing, plays further back when Connolly plays. The way Brighton play isn't really reliant on one player. A lot of our players sort of chip in with goals and things like that. Whereas I think Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are going to be the two main men that they're going to be looking to get them the goals till the end of the season. So I think for 5.9, such a strong option. Ancelotti clearly really likes him, and his stats are really good as well. So he'd be the one I go for. Yeah. I also like, I don't think you mentioned it, but Mason Holgate as well.
He's barking as well.
He's dropped down, I think, just from 4.5 to 4.4. But for people who are getting bored of players like Kelly and Rico, Everton have got a great run, and you could easily just make the switch to him, and you'll probably do quite well out of it.
Yeah, I mean, just before I come to your views on them, Karam, I just want to mention Everton's next fixtures are Brighton at home, West Ham away, Newcastle at home, Watford away, Crystal Palace at home. These are great fixtures, and I've got on my list here Calvert-Lewin. I've already mentioned the striker stats there. He's up there with the very best at the moment in terms of form, and it's Calvert-Lewin is the one I'm looking at. Just happens to fit in with my team structure as well. Karam, what about you? Everton assets? Keen?
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo what Az said about the options he mentioned. I like Sidibe. He's really, really creative, and I like the out of position role that he's playing as a right mid wing. And over the last 4 game weeks, he created 70 chances. Only Trent Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, and Mendy have created more.
He's literally one of the best in that position.
He's putting stats compared to the 7 million defenders of TA and Robertson, so that's really promising. I'm gonna throw another name here, just if you look for some goal threat as well. Yeremina, he's now 5.3 down from 5.5. Why I mention him? Because he's got 5 goal attempts, probably from headers or corners, 5 in the box, but he did not score any. But it seems that he's getting to the box from the corners. He's getting there. Probably he's close from a goal at some point, but he could be someone if you want to stay around the 5.5 bracket. But I think CDB is the better pick, along with Holgate. If you look for a budget one, I have Tomori on my third bench. So if I need to a few Ks to afford Mane, Holgate could be someone I consider. In terms of the attack, Calvert-Lewin, you mentioned he's at the very top. I've got the numbers here: 12 goal attempts. Only Rashford and Jimenez have more. So, and he's 5.9 going to the 6 million mark. So I really like these.
So in terms of January sales bargains, Everton definitely a place to go. Another team, Watford. Now, luckily, David happened to pen an article about them for members on the website. So if you've got membership, also go. There's some details about discounts for members at the moment. Go on site and have a look at that. But one of the exclusive articles is who are the best Watford players to consider under Pearson. And Watford are definitely a team I'm looking at. And they're a team, like Az has with Everton, I've already dipped my toe into Watford. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got Ben Foster in, who I'm very pleased with. He's doing very well. And still, no one wants him. So I'm on my own with him. Everyone's talking about other keepers like Fabianski or wherever. But I'm on my own with him. So anyway, here's some Watford stars. Get your views again. Same format. Delafeu was 6.5. Now 6.1. Bargain. Deeney and Sarr. They're both options. They were, both of them, 6.5, now 6.2, bargain. Foster, my man here, 5 million, and he's now 4.8, bargain. And Decore, the Duke himself, was 6 million, and now 5.6. This is absolute, what an array of discounted bargains there. Okay, I'm very interested in Watford at the moment. Karam, what do you think? Watford worth considering some of their cap price options?
Might be. I think there is only one name that stands out for me. Of course, Foster is a great pick, but I think there are few goalkeepers can match him. But in terms of differentials, I like Ismail Assar at 6.2 million. He's got 9 goal attempts, 9 in the box, 2 big chances. He's in sixth, 2 big chances, sixth across the midfielders, and the ones are ahead of them are Mahrez, KDB, Martial, and Salah, part of them. So he's putting some great stats. I think he has 2 goals and 2 assists in the last 4 game weeks or so. He's playing out of position, sort of like a right wing as a front 3 with Dina and Delafeu. So I really like him. If you fancy some differentials from Watford. Foster, he's down to 4.8. What I like about him is he's got high saves, a lot of saves, and a lot of expected goals conceded, prevented. So the delta factor. So he saves more than what he should concede, which is nice for FPL because he gets bonus points should he keep a clean sheet, and a lot of saves as well. So these two stand out for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm just going to echo that view on Foster, as I talked about him for ages about some other thing, but I was just talking about the goalkeepers here. I did look at the last 4 matches in terms of minutes per save, and these are the top 4. And of those, only Foster and McCarthy have actually got 2 clean sheets. So Foster save every 21 minutes, McCarthy every 22 minutes, and both have got 2 clean sheets. That's it. They're getting save points, they're getting clean sheet points. That's what you want from a goalkeeper. Bargain. Dubravka and Schmeichel are also doing well in terms of minutes per save, but they've only got the 1 clean sheet each. I personally prefer the other 2. I think McCarthy is a great option, and he's also a cut price option. We haven't talked about Southampton yet, but I'm sure we'll come to them. Az, what do you think? Are we on our own thinking of Watford? Too unfashionable to care? No, you like him?
No, I really like him. I think Pearson's come in and, you know, the results they've got over the last few weeks and just the improvement in performances have just been absolutely incredible. I think Foster's a really good option. He's someone that I'm considering. I've got Pope, who has got a particularly bad run of games coming up. He's had half a season now. I actually hope for more from him. I hope for more 1-0 Burnley wins, and I think they've got the second most clean sheets in the league, like joint, just behind Leicester. But he just hasn't really been getting loads of saves, hasn't really been getting loads of bonus, which we've seen from him before. So, it's not. I mean, this is the thing. The keepers are all so tight together. I think it's the difference between Pope and the top scoring goalkeepers about 8 points or something. So you're really making transfers for goalkeepers seems like a bit of a luxury. But I do like Foster. I do like someone like Matt Ryan, who's gone up in price and not really related to what we're talking about. But someone like Leno as well, who I think has gone down in price. If Arsenal can get their act together and sort of defence out, then he could be quite a good option. But yeah, I mean, everything Karam said about Sarr. Sarr is the one that I really like. I think for 6.2, really strong option. And if you go on the members there and you look at midfielders and you look across all of these different stats, so shots in the box, penalty area touches, all of these like key attacking stats, he's up there, 4th or 5th, alongside players like Mane, alongside players like Salah. 6.2 million is really, really good value, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think great, and I think Troy Deeney's being. I mean, talk about unfashionable. Troy Deeney is the epitome of unfashionable in FPL, but I think he's a good option as well, because he's getting what you want, FPL points. Same with Sarr. I think it doesn't quite fit in with what I want to do, but I almost wish it did. Maybe I should make it so. Go all Picard on that and just make Sarr so. Let's move on to West Ham. Here's some more names. So we've got Fornals, who's starting to look okay in midfield.
I like him.
Yeah, was 6'5", now 6. Haller is suddenly... David Moyes likes people crossing to a big guy. So now. Haller was 7.5 and he's now 7. Philippi Anderson, who was starting to play quite effectively in a number 10 role, was 7 million, deservedly gone down, but now perhaps 6.6 is a bargain. Lanzini was 6.5, now 6.2. West Ham, what do we think? Az, what do you reckon?
Yeah, erring on the side of caution a little bit. I don't think the fixtures are that good. They've got they play Sheffield United away this week, then they've got Everton, then they've got Leicester and Liverpool in a double game week, and then they've got Brighton. Okay, but then they've got Liverpool and City again.
Yeah.
It's like they never really have a good run until sort of game week 34. It's a lot of red on their ticker. I do like Moyes. I think he has, he's got something about him with a team like West Ham where he can seem to get them sort of a bit rejuvenated and playing quite well. And, they've got a good squad of players. So there should be options that we are considering. The only option other than Fabianski, who I'm a little bit skeptical of because of the fixture run, I think Fabianski in general, I think is one of the best keepers you can have because he makes loads of saves. Yeah. And when they keep a clean sheet, you often get bonus. So I love Fabianski, but I'm a bit reluctant to move for him. But I think Philippe Anderson dropping down to 6.6 and the role he seems to have under Moyes over the last few weeks. So he's got 2 attacking returns in the last 2 weeks, and he played up front, I think, in the cup as well, which was a pretty strong team that West Ham put out in that cup match. So it might give some indication that he might be moved up alongside Haller or dropped into the number 10 role. And he is a player who last season showed glimpses of just absolute brilliance. I mean, he got 9 goals, 6 assists last season. I think he is the one attacking player who I'd consider from them as a bit of a punt for the double game week and beyond. But I mean, they beat Bournemouth, and Bournemouth have been pretty bad for a while now. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on against Sheffield United, who are a lot better than Bournemouth. But yeah, I like Philippe Anderson and Fabianski, but other than that,
I've written down those 2 words there: watching brief. I'm still not sure. That's why I went for Foster over Fabianski. I was fairly sure with Foster, but not so sure with West Ham assets. But I did say that I'm looking for back this Tom Freeman we had on a Meet the Manager, and he likes to rotate and get differentials in for the 4th midfielder slot. And I am still thinking for the double game week, if I'm going to get any West Ham players, I'm not interested in their defence. I'm interested in one of their midfielders. and there's plenty of options at the moment. And as we discussed, they're reducing in value. But that's me. Karen, what do you reckon? Any West Ham? I mean, they've got double game week coming up, but any West Ham players in your thoughts?
Well, probably I'm on the other side, Joe. So I'm not fully convinced by West Ham. If West Ham for now, I consider them as a category punt, because they have a really tough fixtures until game week 32. When they finish the red fixtures they have in their list. I was considering Antonio for the double game week, but I think he's injured at the moment. He's got I think a couple of price drops as well from the starting point of the season. I think 6'9", 6'8" from 7. So it remains to be seen where is he fit in the team. Is he a winger? Is he a striker with Haller? That's something to be seen. I might be interested for the double game week, but the problem with the midfielders of West Ham, their prices are comparable with other assets that they can do better. So around the 6-7 million mark, we have the Grealish, the Traore at 5.5, the Madison at 7.5. So it's really hard to fit them long term, but you can definitely fancy them for the double game week if you are planning to ship them out short term, or you are doing a early wild card. So they could be an option. Another one I want to throw maybe as a fodder, it could be Zabaleta at 4.2, because I think Fredericks now is out between 4 to 6 weeks with his injury.
That's a good call, actually, because
he's got a goal in the cup, so I don't think he will get many goals. Yeah, but in the good games in between this rough list, you can start him. You can get something out of him. I don't think that they will keep any clean sheet in the double game week. I think they will concede in both games. So if you look for a long-term option, I think Fabianski will guarantee you save points. He's actually averaging 5.1 points per game, is the highest across all goalkeepers. Well, we caveat to that is the number of minutes he played this season, but he's far away from any other goalkeeper. I think Guaita comes second, 4.2, 4.1 points per game. So he's a good one, regardless of the fixture. Other than that, I don't think I'm going.
You know what's amazing about Fabianski? Well, I think it's maybe not so amazing about Fabianski, but just about goalkeepers in general. I mean, you think about how many games Fabianski's missed this season. He is 8 points behind Kepa.
Oh, wow.
He is sort of 10 or 11 points behind Ederson.
And since he came back, he kept 3 clean sheets in the row. 2 in the league and 1 in the cups.
Well, he's got 46 points this season. Kepa's got 54. Ederson's got 57. So, I mean, Ederson and Kepa are behind Tim Krul, who plays for Norwich. It's mad. Goalkeepers are a very, very strange position.
They are. But it's also the cheap ones. That's why it's so annoying that Fabianski and Foster were priced so highly. And Dubravka as well was priced highly. Because these are the 4.5 guys are great, and they have been for years, decades since I've been playing. What you want lots of saves, and you want them to make clean sheets, but have a rubbish defence in front of them. That is your ideal goalkeeper. And
it was why Pope was such a weird player to be 4.5, because I thought he had all that in him, all the saves and all the bonus and all the clean sheets, because he's done it before, but he just hasn't really done it. I think Fabianski at 4.9 is a strong option regardless of the fixtures, really. I just wish they were a bit greener.
Okay. Well, my the last team that I'm going to mention, and there's a few others I'm sure you both will, is Arsenal. Now Kolasinac rather, 5.5 now 5.2. Ooh, I know he's a favourite of yours, Az, in the past. Aubameyang was 11, 10.8. Lacazette 9.5, now 9.3. Mesut Ozil was 7.5, now 7.2, and Pepe, who is starting to actually look good, 9.5, now 9.1. There's a lot of bargains there around the different price ranges as well, and I haven't even gone into the rest of the defence. And you mentioned Leno as well. Karen, what do you reckon to Arsenal assets there? There's a broad range of points, of price points there, but there's a lot of bargains because they've been so awful for most of the season.
So if I look back at that defense, the Arsenal defense is promising, but I'm not quite sure yet that they are compact.
Wow, you're the first person to say that, Karam.
Well, everyone says they are good to go. No, I don't think yet. There are good signs from the Manchester United game. They did not let many chances to their defense. But again, if you look at the games against Leeds, they probably played with a full back line, more or less. Socrates played, David Luiz, and they allowed too many shots. So it's still inconsistent. There are signs, but inconsistent. Now, let's say you as have Dinia or Sidibe, and he became totally disaster. I think at his price, it's nice to switch him to Kolasinac. I don't know how the fixture list look like for them, but if they are good, you can try that. I think he showed that he can go really further forward as a winger. So there is the potential there. What I'm a bit more interested in is Aubameyang. Pepe, I'm not quite sure about the starts. He might share minutes with Lacazette, Nelson, Saka, Ozil. You don't know what's the exact formation here, but Aubameyang is the captain. He will play every single minute in the Premier League, I imagine. So when I listed down the name of some key players who can climb in the rankings from my position now, Aubameyang is one of them. He scored 13, 14 goals. How many goals he scored yet? And nobody talked about him the whole season. 13 goals and 3 assists. So that's decent.
He's challenging for the Golden Boot once again.
Exactly. But because we had so many good cheap forwards, we sort of like ignore them, and it's just because he plays for Arsenal. So I'm not ruling out Aubameyang. He's one of my watch list after the double game week of Liverpool. He might be part of the shuffling that I will do. I just need to look for some decent players who nobody wants. That's the way I think I can climb the rankings. But again, we have Vardy, we have Mane, we have KDB. So how to fit him with his price, it's a bit challenging. But I'm interested definitely in Aubameyang in a few game weeks time.
Az, what do you reckon? Arsenal? I mean, have we been there, done that? Are we just too shell-shocked by Arsenal to bother with them anymore?
I mean, I am a big critic of Arsenal in general. I mean, defence-wise, I briefly considered Leno at 5 million. He does make a lot of saves, and it looks like Arteta is working on getting them a bit tighter. But I just don't trust a centre-back pairing of Luiz and Socrates to keep clean sheets.
15 points, Socrates. Beware. 15.
I know. They've both got a goal in them. Luiz from free kicks, and Socrates because he's an absolute madman who just charges in for everything, and really reckless. But defence-wise, I'm not too sure about. I mean, I owned Aubameyang for quite a long period this season, and I know he's got 13 goals. A lot of those came just before I bought him in, which was game week 8, and it was a pretty rough ride with him, to be honest. He blanked, I think, for 3 weeks in a row, and then got a goal, then blanked again. And for 11 million, you kind of want a player who you feel like you could captain as a bit of a differential or stuff. And I don't know. I just worried a bit about him. I mean, the one plus side of Aubameyang is Emery was completely clueless and didn't have a clue of what he was doing, I don't think. And I've said to my friends who support Arsenal, I would be really annoyed with him for the job he did at Arsenal, because I think he's done a really bad job there. He should be embarrassed with himself. But Aubameyang hasn't embarrassed himself since Emery's been there, and he's done really well. So I think Arteta is looking like a better appointment than I maybe gave him credit for. I think he does have them playing a certain way. They're putting more effort in. And the fact he's come out now and sort of said how committed he is to Arsenal, and the rumours about him leaving aren't true, as the captain, all that kind of stuff is good for them to hear. He's the only player, I think, in the whole Arsenal team that I'd go anywhere near. And I think, actually, for someone who is looking to make up some ground in a mini league, you probably haven't got that many options to go for. And a player who is playing for a potentially rejuvenated Arsenal side, who's going to be competing for the Golden Boot, fits that bill really nicely. So I wouldn't begrudge anyone for going with Aubameyang. And I am surprised I don't see him in more teams.
Yeah.
Of kind of the serious, hardcore players. I think he's a good option.
Yeah, so I had a look at Arsenal under Arteta. So I had a look at the last couple of. So this is a small sample size. So I want to see more of Arsenal, but I am sort of interested. So I compared the first 19 or so game weeks to the last 2 matches. And this is what has happened. Basically, their goals are up, but their XG, the expected goals, is down. The possession is in fact down. Less successful passes, shots are down, but they're conceding less goal attempts. So their expected goals conceded is down. So it's the defence I'm actually most interested in. This is weird. I think they're becoming a much better, possibly, with small sample size at the moment, but they're looking like a better defensive unit, and it appears the attacking players are doing more defending, basically. So that's why they're spending their time doing that. And then take Ozil. So he is a case in point. So get a load of this heat map. Okay, so this is him from the first few game weeks. So I've done an average as well. And then I put him in the last 2 game weeks. So we could see early on in the Emery days, whenever Özil did get a run in the team, there he is down at the corner, there he is sort of hovering around the edge of the penalty box. This is where you're used to seeing him. He's putting in those wonderful passes, well, allegedly, if he can ever get on the pitch. He's near the penalty box. But then you look at the last 2 game weeks, and suddenly he's moved back a bit, and suddenly he's much further. These kind of red blotches aren't near the penalty box at all. They're near the centre circle. So his expected goals are down. His touches in the final third are down. His assist potential is down. The Özil of old is down. But his tackles are double. He's taking double the amount of tackles. Interceptions up, recoveries up. He's becoming a defensive-minded midfielder, but that's not to say Kane's playing too far back. They're all doing it. They're all taking on that defensive duties more, and this is something I want to monitor more. I'm not saying, hey, go and get the Arsenal defence, because as one of the posters, Marco Rebello, has just said, if Arsenal get another clean sheet, I will run naked round my street. I'm not sure how where he lives, whether that's a risky business or not, but that's basically the sentiment at the moment, and I'm nervous to invest there. But I like what Arteta's doing defence-wise with Arsenal. When the time comes, I might dip my toe into Arsenal's defence. Anyway,
they wouldn't have kept a clean sheet against Leeds a few weeks ago. Leeds were all over them, but they defended well. For most parts. And it's like you say, I think that's a really good heat map, that, because it does show that these players who you think are Ozil. I mean, he's the ultimate person who people think are lazy and doesn't track back and all this, doesn't put much effort in. And Arteta's even got him doing it. So imagine what he's doing to some of the other players.
Double the amount of tackles on average. He's tackling twice as much as he used to. Just everything there. So any others? Now I mentioned Southampton because obviously Ings has gone up in price, but their defence, they look like bargains, don't they? McCarthy, I mentioned 4.3, good goalkeeper. He's one of the best goalkeepers at the moment, save and clean sheet points. Stevens, Bednarek as well. Both of them are below their original starting price. Quite good. Just for you two, so I'll go back to you, Karam. Before we leave this section, any other sort of bargains worth mentioning?
Well, the ones I have here, I've pulled 3 more names. They are not cheap, but they are really good alternatives. So if I go back to Liverpool, we mentioned Firmino as an option. Now he's actually 9.3, down from 9.5. So he's a good option in preparation to the double game week if you cannot afford Mane and Salah and you want to go with the away form for Liverpool as it this season. So he can be an option. I want to go to Man City again. David Silva is back. He's got a bigger hair now, so he's down at 7.4 from 7.5. He went to 7.7 at some point early this season. The thing about him is he is really valuable for his price. So 4 double-digit holds this season, and twice 9 points. He scored from 14 starts, so almost half of his starts are 9 points or more. So that's really, really great value. Riyad Mahrez, who scored today in the derby as well, 8.3. He started the last 9 game weeks. The thing about him, when he starts, he delivers. But if he does not, probably he comes in for a cameo. So prepare your bench, but be ready to accept a 1-pointer. But he will deliver. He delivered against Chelsea, Leicester. and he's really good in a good form now. So I like him as an option, especially if you want to go down from Sterling to Mahrez, for example. If somebody is still owning Sterling apart from me now, he could be an option. The last one I want to mention is from Wolves. Now, this someone is down in price, but it's known. We know him from last season. He wakes up in the second half of the season, and that's Diogo Jota at 6.1 from 6.5. Now he's at the moment, I think he's injured, but he's not far away from coming back. So this page is more about rule of thumb. He wakes up in the second half of the season, and he scores a lot in points in the second part of the season. So I like him if you look for someone. If Mopé and Calvert-Lewin were not good options at the end in a few weeks' time, Wolves have 3 tough fixtures after 2 game weeks. So by game week 28, 29, if you look for someone around their price bracket, you cannot go up to Jimenez. Maybe Jota would be a good option. His stats in the first part of the season were really good and up there with the top strikers as well. So this might be back as well. So these are 3-4 names I'm considering for myself as well. Could be good options.
And what about you, Az? Just before I come to you, I just want to mention we've got an update from Mark.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered most of them. Just one final one. I mean, not the most kind of, probably not going to turn your season around if you're struggling. But Aaron Moy of Brighton has gone down to 4.8, and he has been absolutely brilliant the last few games for Brighton. And I had a look at his stats on the members area, and in terms of chances created, he's actually 6th on the list out of midfielders. And the company he keeps is Moutinho, who Karam mentioned, De Bruyne, Grealish, Willian, and actually top of that list is Buendia of Norwich. But Moyes 4.8 million, really cheap, and at a time when we're looking for cut price options, particularly with if you've got sort of 5 strong midfielders and you're looking to like a Traore to Moy upgrade could free you up about 0.5 million or something. So I'm not saying he's a player who you're going to get in and captain, but I think for around the 5 million mark and under, he could do a quite a decent job for you, because Brighton we're a decent attacking side this season, and he has been our best player for quite a few weeks now. So one to think about.
Yeah, no, I mean, Brighton. You and I, as being Brighton fans, I really wish they were all nailed on. I knew he was going to play each week, because I think Aaron Moy is great, Trossard's great, Mopé's great. The defence is great and were last season, well, apart from a double game week. But yeah, I really wish so.
He started the last 9 games, Moy, including all the games over Christmas.
I said 2 years ago I got him in for his goal that season, and I
remember that.
I always cherish that time. I want to get a Moy goal this season.
Moy's boys.
Yeah, Moy's boys indeed. Let's move on to game week 22 and beyond. Differential. Now, Az picked the longest to go. I think it was Ali. Who back then Spurs were good, and Ali was good, so he was a good option there. Az, who is your under 5% owned gem that you think will do well over the next 4 game weeks?
Yeah, pressure's on really, because I've been doing all right at this. I think this one was quite easy though, and he's a player who we've mentioned already. Ooh. Can you guess who he is?
Troy Deeney?
Karam?
5%.
He's 1.7% owned,
and
we mentioned him earlier.
Is he a Watford player?
He is not a Watford player.
No.
Yes.
That's 1.7.
I'm intrigued.
I don't know. Is Delefeo at 6.1?
No, he's not a Watford player.
No.
He's an Everton
he's not
player.
Watford.
He's an Everton player.
Oh, who is it then?
It is Sidibe.
Ooh. Is that?
Do
you know what? That's
again with the defenders like Marcus Alonso.
Yeah. So I love marauding defenders. They've always been, quite a key part of how I play the game. I always look to find defenders who look like they can get attacking returns and also get the cushion of a clean sheet if they don't get any attacking returns, but the team puts in a good performance. So Sidibe really ticks those boxes. I mean, 1.7% ownership is really low. We've got 12 points against Burnley, got an assist, got a clean sheet. He's blanked in the next 2, but I mean, one of those was against City. He managed to get a bonus point against City despite them conceding 2 goals. So that's the kind of player that I really like. And I think if he continues to be played sort of out of position, then he does represent a really good option. Not much more to say about him, really. I mean, the only worry kind of is that if Ancelotti does decide that playing Coleman at centre back is probably the most mad thing any manager's ever done in the history of the Premier League, then he could revert back to 4 at the back, and then Stevie becomes less good an option, and then I think Dean becomes a better option because he's going to be playing further up because he's that's just what he does.
Question for you, Az. Now, how would you fit Sidibe in our structure? Because most of us have at least one Liverpool defender, Lundstram, and probably Soyuncu. So would you sacrifice any one of them to fit in Sidibe, or you would go back to 4-4-2, for example, with 4
mean,
defenders?
you could do. I mean, Lundstrom's got Arsenal and City coming up, so you don't really want to be playing him in those 2 games. If you're like me and you were late to the Lundstrom party, then you could, in theory, swap Lundstrom for a Sidibe or a Dean. But I appreciate if you've got him at 4 million, you don't really want to be doing that. I think a lot of people are holding on to players like Kelly and Rico, and I think if you compare someone like Sidibe or Dean to Traore, I think they're better options because as I said, I don't think Traore is a good enough 4th midfielder to have. I think 4 at the back with Dean or Sidibe is, because with Dean you've got the set pieces, and with Sidibe you've got the out of position prospect. So I don't think a switch to 4 at the back with one of those 2 is a bad idea. If you're looking to make up.
No, I agree. I think it's a great move. I'm quite surprised he's that low owned. I knew his ownership was low, but I thought it was something like 7 or 8 or 9%. But he's ultra differential at the moment. Exactly the kind of player we want to hear. And it moves us nicely into looking at clean sheets over the next 6. Because Everton are there, and this is why Sidibe's a good option. Because even if he doesn't get forward, even if he's forced back, Coleman's not there, and he's forced back into a more defensive fullback role, then clean sheets could be coming. So looking at the best teams, Bournemouth, I'm just going to sketch over them. Just don't bother with Bournemouth. They're top. They've got the best chances on paper, fixture-wise, of clean sheets over the next 6 game weeks, but don't bother because they're rubbish. So Arsenal watching brief, okay? So let's try them out. Okay, I want to have a look here. So they've got Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, Chelsea, Burnley, Newcastle and Everton. So it's sort of around that Burnley time I'm going to be thinking, hang on a minute, I might get one of these cut price Arsenal assets. Probably worth loads by them, but maybe their defence is better by them. Liverpool, the next up, mainly because they've got that double game week, but they've got Tottenham and Manchester United next. Possible clean sheets there. Wolves and West Ham, you would hope for at least one there, and then they got this wonderful run from game week 25 onwards. But just the start of it here in this batch: Southampton, Norwich, and West Ham over game weeks 25 to 27. Wow, that's when the double Liverpool defence could really play off. Brighton are next up: Everton, Villa, Bournemouth, West Ham, Watford, and Sheffield United, and then. Everton, yeah. So Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Watford, Crystal Palace and Arsenal. So great run of fixtures. Southampton, Leicester, Watford, Leicester, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Burnley and Aston Villa. I just realised I've just put the picture up on the screen for people to actually see what I'm reading out. Man City are still there, if we can ever think that a Man City defender will start or whether Pep trusts any of them. But if you think they will, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, Tottenham, West Ham and Leicester. Lots of chances for clean sheets. And finally, West Ham in the sort of short-term possible. Sheffield United, Everton. And then they've got that tricky double game week for their defence. Leicester and Liverpool. Brighton, possible chance of a clean sheet there. Game week 26, 27. It gets as rough as you want. City and Liverpool. That's the nightmare double up that you just do not want to see if you own one of their defenders. So if you are getting Fabianski in, or you are getting a West Ham defender in, make sure you've got a backup game week 26 and 27 because you ain't going to get any clean sheets then. Let's look at how game week 22 plans. I've just by virtue of loading up the pictures, I'm going to go first, but also because I've already done a move and it's massively boring. I think in the last decade, I'm
excited. You built this up, Joe.
I built this up because I've never done a move that's this boring. So
wow,
I'm planning to get rid of Ali and Rashford for Mane and Calvert-Lewin, or possibly another striker. But I don't want to do it this week. I think Rashford is at home to Norwich. I'm just not doing that. That's a rough with a smooth waiting to happen, possibly. So I'm happy to do it. So I bought myself an extra $500,000. I've now got 0.9 million in the bank. So this is why it's really ultra boring, because I'm planning ahead for Game Week 23 and 24 in Game Week 22. I've looked at my team. I am happy with Foster, but I wasn't happy with Pope. So I've moved Pope down to McGovern, a non-playing goalkeeper, and that has freed up that money, so I don't have to worry about price rises and falls over the next week or so. Well, in theory, unless there's some triple rises and falls over that time, and so that's why it's massive boring.
Yeah, you're right.
He's right. It is bad, isn't it?
Yep.
It's not only is it a goalkeeper change, but it's not a very interesting goalkeeper change. And our captaincy, Vardy or De Bruyne. I think I like the fact that City are playing Villa. I like the fact that Vardy is amazing and he's at home to Southampton. So I'm not looking at Liverpool. Possibly Salah's got a shoe in. And I could consider Rashford and Jimenez, but I think realistically it's going to be the two high-owned guys, not because of the ownership, just because I just think they could get the most points. So that's me done. Karam, let's have a look at your bus team. Who's in, who's out, who are you captaining?
I'm planning to roll the transfer. So I have one free transfer at the minute. I don't see any urgency to make any transfer now. Captaincy, if there is a game that Raheem Sterling will pay me back, then it has to be this game. And before we go live, I was watching the Meet of the Manager video with Pranel Chef,
Yes.
Riser, his username. I recommend watching the video. And I stopped at the part where he was talking about the opportunities and how to be ruthless against a very obvious captain when you have an opportunity elsewhere. So with full understanding that Vardy's effective ownership could be around 150, 155 or 60%. I feel that Southampton defense is not terrible of late. And at the same time, I fancy Man City to score quite a few goals against Villa, who have lost their goalkeeper, who have a lot of injuries. The stats suggest that they have the worst defense in terms of shots conceded and all of that. City still score a lot of goals. They are now 3-1 up against Man United, so that's encouraging in terms of confidence and goals. So that's why I'm leaning towards taking this opportunity. It could be a good farewell or a bad farewell to Sterling before he becomes Manny. Not sure if he will stay against Palace. I could wait one more game week, but certainly the next moves would be around getting Manny for Sterling. I'm I think 0.4, 0.5 million short. So that could be something like Tomori to Holgate. I think I am missing only 0.2. So I think Tomori can be Holgate. Tomori can be any other one.
So some of those bargains that we've been mentioning, you're actually in a position where you can shop around. If I wasn't getting Manny in at that plan there, I'd be looking at that. Matt target to someone else that we've already mentioned. Exactly.
So one of those options. There's still that fear from Vardy. But I think I'm 99% going with Sterling. I want to take this opportunity and see what happens. Probably another big red arrow or another green arrow. So we'll see what happens.
Let's see. Okay. Let's have a look at your team. Who's in? Who's out? Who are you captaining?
I really want to do something exciting because you're both so boring.
I
know.
I haven't. Hey, you've already got McGovern in. You've beaten me to the. I didn't even notice.
I'm
not boring.
Head of the crowd.
You hipster dullard, you.
I mean, I might also be making a goalkeeper transfer this week, which is depressing. I know, I hate myself, Karam. But I just don't really want Pope anymore. Just a bit.
I didn't.
No, I think Ryan is probably the one I'll go for. He's making loads of saves. Yeah, and he's capable of a sort of a 10, 11 point return, which I thought I was going to get from Pope a bit more than I have done. So it might be Pope to Ryan. I could just bank the transfer, but it'll probably be that. It's not that interesting. I mean, I think Liverpool being overlooked a bit for the captaincy this week. I know City have got a great game against Villa. I know Vardy's got a good game as well, but I don't think I think I've read. I might be wrong, but I think I read that no team has conceded more goals since Mourinho took over Spurs than Spurs.
Hang on, what?
And they've lost.
Wow.
They've lost Harry Kane to an injury. I think it's a really, really bad time to be playing Liverpool anyway, and it's a bad time to be Spurs because they've got injuries. They're making so many defensive mistakes, and Mourinho just doesn't look like he's got a plan to sort it out. Also, he's now turning on players, which we all predicted he'd do. He's turned on Ndombele for seemingly no reason, telling him that he's useless for not being fit.
Oh, he does that, didn't he? With the injured player. I bet it'd be great in a hospital. Like, go in there and just say, "Oh, you're faking it. You're rubbish."
I just find it so. I just find him such a bizarre manager, and I think Liverpool are going to turn him over. So I like Mane in that game quite a lot. I do like De Bruyne though against Villa, and I do like Vardy. So the captaincy is a really tough one this week, and even someone like Martial against Norwich. I mean, any of these players could do quite well. So it's going to come down to the wire, I think. But
so
at the moment, it's on Mane.
Here's a plug that may help. Tomorrow, David and I are recording the captaincy video for Gameweek 22. This has been recorded on Tuesday evening. And so on Wednesday, there's the captaincy video. We'll have a live stream out at 12:30, and obviously you can watch the video and listen to the podcast thereafter. So yeah, we'll be answering some of those questions. Sounds like Karam's pretty full on with his one. He's going Maverick and hitting hard, hitting home, and all that kind of stuff that Prana was talking about on Meet the Manager. And me and Az are sort of, well, we've got a bunch of good players and they could all do well. I don't know.
Yeah.
But hopefully my chat with David might actually help me make a decision. But in the meantime, this has been a very long episode, but it's been a very long, for us, break, as in having more than 2 days rest from football after Christmas. But for now, just to finally say, I mentioned earlier about the members area. There's discount news there. Go and have a look on Fantasy Football Scout. There's an article on there all about the membership discounts there. So it's not just player prices that are coming down, it's membership discounts as well. And then you get access to some of those articles about some of the teams we mentioned there and also those stats as well. But for now, it's a goodbye from me.
Good night.
And goodbye from me.
Goodbye all.